Hi, I'm Derek Johnson, Minister of Agriculture for the province of Manitoba.
Okay. So, Minister, congratulations on your new responsibility. When was it that it was announced?
January 5th of this year, so it's actually coming up on, it's nearing a year, so it's been an exciting year. I think we've had some exciting times throughout the year, going from obviously a few years of drought to now a year of excess moisture.
Do you have any background in agriculture?
I grew up on a beef farm in the Interlake area, so it's now with my kids and grandchild that's on it. It's now seventh generation, so I'm not on the farm anymore. I rent my land out, but my kids are utilizing it and they're at home. Well, I still call it home, of course. I think anybody who's left the farm always calls the farm home.
Yeah, sure. Okay. What are your thoughts about agriculture in Manitoba, agriculture in general?
Well, as I mentioned, we've had a few tough years. That we've had a few years of drought, which were really tough this last year, affecting all ranges of agriculture. I think probably if you look at your on your moisture maps, Interlake was affected the most severe up in cattle country, and that's where I'm from. So it's my roots, my constituents, people that you grow to know over the years that have been direly affected from the drought, and then just going to show climate change, I guess, from that to the excess moisture that we've had this year, and again the Interlake that was the driest is now has the most moisture, and there's friends of mine that have a 10,000 acre farm, and they were only able to get in 2,500 acres.
Yeah.
But I guess these instances just go to show how resilient producers are. They seem to always find a way to make things work and make it through. They're progressive, innovative, resourceful. I guess we need, most producers have a very positive outlook on their operation, and they continue to do that even through tough times. I was able to tour the drought last year with Minister Bibeau. Even though it wasn't my portfolio, it was my constituency that she came to tour, and some of the producers on there that we toured had some very heartfelt stories, and it's interesting, but it's tough at the same time. But speaking of the optimistic side, we do have some good prices, and we're hoping that it stays ahead of the fuel and fertilizer and other input costs, and also some good beef prices. The concern is with good beef prices, it's hard to rebuild the herd when you have good beef prices. People want to get ahead. They've been behind. Last year with the drought, the last couple of years, a few years has put them a little bit behind. That new tractor that they may purchase every decade or decade and a half has been pushed off another 5 years. So they have to play catch up on that, and the only way to generate revenue is to sell your livestock and try and make that catch up. I think overall, in general, in Manitoba, we've had some fortunate choices by companies. I do believe that we are creating the environment for the companies to come here, but fortunately there's companies like High Life and Roquette and all those large companies, Merit, Simplot. I just toured Simplot today, but they're making the choices to invest in Manitoba, and when the value added is here, the processing is here, the farmers can charge a little bit more for their crop because there isn't as much transportation, for example. Roquette was expecting to purchase 30% of its peas from Manitoba and 70% outside the province, it actually is the reciprocal. There are 70% of their peas being purchased from Manitoba and only 30% are being imported from outside the province. So in general, with the processing plants and stuff choosing to move here, with our low hydro rates and business-friendly environment, that helps out farming in the long run as well.
Now, obviously there's been a negative impact on livestock. Are we seeing, or hopefully seeing, an increase in herds in the coming years, do you think?
Well, my comments still stand. Farmers need to play catch up for their equipment, and the only way to generate revenue is to sell their livestock. But we do have a program for those who had to liquidate their herds that were in those challenging areas of the province to rebuild their herd, and they can apply to have up to $250 towards rebuilding their herd if they had to liquidate it. So that's one of the incentives that we have to help rebuild the herd.
Is there anything that the provincial government is able to do now or in the future to help agriculture as a whole? Anything on the horizon at all?
Yeah, well, again, creating the environment that I feel we've been very successful at doing, creating the environment to attract businesses for that value added. And if those businesses are processing the crop in the province, there is a lot less transportation that needs to happen with the crop. So that's something that I think we've done very, very well at. I'm sure you're familiar with Canadian Agriculture Partnership, and now the new one, we've signed a memorandum of understanding for it's going to be called SCAP rather than CAP2. And the S stands for Sustainability Canadian Agriculture Partnership. So there's been an increase of 25% in that program, and we're still working on the details, but that'll be advantageous to Manitoba. Now what we've got an agreement on is adding agriculture crown lands. So historically, programs for improving crown lands or improving lands, producers' lands, ag crown lands were not inclusive of those programs because they were considered owned by the province. Well, it's very rare that the province actually takes possession of those lands. We are trying to ensure that they're utilized to help the agriculture in general in Manitoba. So those two things alone, a 25% increase in SCAP, and the addition of ag crown lands on the programs. But we're continuing with our programs. There's excess moisture insurance. We've increased that by 50% on the base, so it goes from $50 an acre to $75. What was historically $75 goes to $100, and what was historically $100 goes to $125 per acre. So that's some substantial increases from 50% increase on the lower end and up to 25 on the higher end. Agri-stability as well, we've increased from 70% to 80%. That's something that was called on by the producers, and we're happy to negotiate with the federal government and announce that is moving forward. Forage insurance, of course, we continue on with that. We've tasked Manitoba dairy producers to see if there's improvements that we can make. We've given them some funding so we can try and improve some of our products. I'm pretty sure agri-stability, as you know it now, and as you know it from decades ago, has changed, and that's what we need to continue doing, is be malleable with our programs and ensure that we're doing what we can for the producers. Agri Insurance has paid out $575 million this last year in 2021. Excess moisture insurance has been $50 million so far this year. I'm not sure if you followed the press release, another large announcement was a 50% rent reduction this year, this coming year for Ag Crown land, and then the following year it'll be 33% and 15% the year after. And again, partnering with industry to ensure that we keep moving forward and getting more value added here in Manitoba is good for not just producers in Manitoba, but our economy in Manitoba as a whole. Animal health is very important.
Mm-hmm.
We have to ensure that we maintain public trust, where we feel comfortable with our children and grandchildren eating anything that we choose off the shelves. And I think we do a very good job at that, and we need to maintain that. We have what we're bringing forward as what we call One Health, and we're trying to expand outside of Manitoba, and so the entire North America environment would look at health as one, not as individual provinces or municipalities or countries. It's important for something like African swine fever. If it comes in from anywhere, we have to fight it as a whole, kind of like we did with COVID through the pandemic. And it would be very, very serious for Manitoba especially. Our neighboring provinces and across Canada, they can actually consume the pork that they produce. In Manitoba, we export 85% of our pork, and it's very, very important part of our GDP. Pork alone is 20% of the agriculture GDP, so it's really important. We also have wild boar that are a concern. They spread disease. It's known that they spread disease. Just watch some of the YouTube videos from Texas. So we have a program in Manitoba to corral and euthanize wild boar. Originally, hunting was thought to be the engage people and make it a sport, and no charge, of course, but engage people. Biologists have found out that if they're diseased, it spreads the herd, and it's actually the wrong thing to do. You have to bait them and corral them, and then euthanize them that way. Because as soon as you pursue them or hunt them or chase them, then if they are diseased, that's when they will spread. So that's a concern. I'm sure you're aware of the increase in our veterinarian seats that we've announced. That's also huge for rural Manitoba, especially with the focus on rural Manitoba and the criteria that you need to apply to those 5 seats. So when fully implemented, currently there's 60 students at one time at the college, and it'll increase to 80. So a total of $8.6 million when it's fully implemented. We'll be investing in veterinarians for Manitoba. I guess just back to climate change and the risks that we have there, or realities, I guess more so than risks. We do have a network of sensors that are across the province, and we share all that data freely and openly, whether it's in-depth soil moisture all the way up to something as simple as just how much rain we got in the area. So there's a lot of things that we're doing, and a lot of things that we're looking at to improve what we're doing, and we're open for listening.
One final question.
Yeah.
Thinking about the Sheep Federation event tomorrow.
Yeah.
One of the events is talking about ID, which apparently we all know about human facial recognition.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm told that that's now progressed into livestock. So my final question is, do you see an increase in technology over the next few years in the industry?
Yeah, multiple advancements of technology. Just on the sheep, before I get into it though, I just came back from a tri-national accord in Mexico. I was representing Canada for Canada, United States, Mexico. We're down there, and we successfully have small ruminants, sheep and goats, and taken off the list that aren't allowed to travel. They were put on the list with BSE back in the day. Cattle were removed, but sheep and goats never were. So now, just speaking of the Sheep Association, now we can actually market our sheep and goats to Mexico. This is a huge step forwards, and transport them through the United States. Currently, we have to fly them there, so it's kind of higher end genetics that they're looking at. But technological advancements are absolutely part of the future. As Manitoba, we insisted that technology and innovation and research be part of our new SCAP program, because you can't, it's very tough to have innovation without research. So just on the facial recognition, if that becomes recognized by governments, that'll be huge for the humane handling of animals, because currently you still have to brand beef that go to the States. A physical brand on it has to be burnt in. So if you start recognizing the facial recognition and its capabilities, that'll help with the humane part of handling. Just, you can get rid of ear tags and all the extra stuff as well. But I think the federal government needs to embrace technology a little bit more, and maybe I'm just talking about their fertilizer reductions that they want, or reductions in the emissions. The technology is there to put on variable rate fertilizer. You test the soil in different areas, and you only put on what you need. They might want to consider, rather than painting everybody with the same paintbrush, because a lot of people are using that technology, they may want to consider having incentives out there, a carrot rather than a stick, but have incentives out there to help other producers purchase this equipment, because it is still very expensive. And but to answer your question, yes, absolutely, technology is going to be the way of the future.
Any other comments at all, Minister?
No, other than I was at a John Deere dealership, and they showed us just the technology from your smartphone to the tractor and how they talk to one another. It was a brand new tractor, so they intentionally disabled a sensor on the tractor. And you go through your smartphone, and it tells you exactly what you need to do. Unplug this plug here and that plug there. Test continuity between pin number 17 and pin number 64. Okay, that's not the problem. Now do this. The technology is right on your phone, and actually it goes through the direction with you of how to troubleshoot an issue with your equipment. And so yes, technology is absolutely the wave of the future. And when you finally go through and see the part that you need, in this case it was John Deere, you can log in and they will tell you whether it's in stock in Arborg or in Portage la Prairie or in Steinbach, so you actually know where to go to get the piece to repair your equipment.
That's amazing. That's really, really good. Thank you, Minister.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.